going on, everybody? I'm Harrison Graham.
And I'm Chase Sr.
We launched a brand new show just a couple of weeks ago here at Chat Sports, and it's called Any Given Thursday.
We go live every single Thursday, 5 o'clock Eastern, 2 o'clock Pacific. So the video that you're about to watch aired live on that show. Make sure you subscribe and join us on our main Chat Sports YouTube channel.
Lakers basketball is almost back, and let's give a little Lakers training camp preview here on Any Given Thursday by Chat Sports. Harrison Graham, Chase Sr. rolling with you every Thursday, 5 o'clock Eastern, 4 o'clock Central Time. Chase, you've put together 3 headlines you're keeping an eye on during training camp and heading into this season for the LA Lakers. Take it away, my friend.
I think it's going to be a riveting season for the Los Angeles Lakers for so many reasons. They were probably the most active team in NBA free agency, and right before free agency, they made that trade for Russell Westbrook, who comes to Los Angeles, back to his hometown where he grew up. He played college ball at UCLA from the Washington Wizards. And last year, Russ was fantastic, averaging a triple-double. He overtook Oscar Robertson for the most triple-doubles in the history of the league. But I'm intrigued. I'm fascinated to see what his fit is going to be on this roster, because he has played throughout his NBA career alongside superstars, Kevin Durant, as well as James Harden a couple of times with the Rockets as well as OKC. So there's no doubt that Russ can play alongside marquee players. Bradley Beal last year with the Washington Wizards. But this team is so much different because he's never played alongside 2 great players to the likes of LeBron James and Anthony Davis. And while I really like Russell Westbrook's game, he has been maddening at times because late in games, in the playoffs, he does make some head-scratching decisions, and he never has a great feel for the game, and he always just has that cutthroat mentality, which is what makes him great, that aggressiveness and that thirst, that hunger for being a great player. But also late in the games, you have to learn how to just calm it down a little bit. And I don't want to see Russell Westbrook on this Lakers roster chucking up a bunch of ill-advised shots, because he doesn't need to do that with the supporting cast that he has. So is he willing to take a back seat and a little bit of an ego check? That's one storyline that I am monitoring. And since Russ is coming off a season in which he averaged a triple-double, I do want to ask you this, Laker Nation. Is Russ going to average a triple-double again, given the supporting cast he's playing alongside with? Type 1 for yes, type 2 for no. Get those votes in the comment section down below. This is maybe the biggest question for Los Angeles going into the 2021-2022 campaign. Does their age matter? LeBron is 36 years old, going on 37. Russell Westbrook is on the back end of his career. And there are so many players on this roster: Carmelo Anthony, Dwight Howard, DeAndre Jordan, Wayne Ellington, who have been in this league for a really long time. And throughout the course of an 82-game season, are they going to be able to hold up against the likes of other championship contenders across the league who are much younger, much more youthful? I don't think the Lakers' age matters, but so many people out there do, and I'm interested to see if they're going to break down throughout the season. The big thing here is that given the Lakers' age, they don't have a lot of injury-prone players. The most injury-prone guy on this roster, probably Anthony Davis, who's still in his early 20s, in his late 20s.
It does seem like this is like the biggest headline of the offseason is, can these old guys, make a deep run? I mean, Jeremy Chuggs, one of our producers, made a thumbnail for one of our videos of Laker players sitting in an old person's home, because that's how much we've been talking about this. So I'm fascinated to see how it plays out. It's why I said on an old Lakers video that I think LeBron's the most important player in the NBA this year. He's got to stay healthy.
Go up and down that roster. It's like a retirement home. Yes. But all of these guys at one point and still are great players. Lastly, there's this. We're going to see a little bit of a positional change for both LeBron James and Anthony Davis. And throughout this offseason, during the NBA draft combine, throughout free agency, there were some reports about Rich Paul, Clutch Sports, agent for LeBron as well as Anthony Davis, telling other people across the league in league circles that LeBron is going to play more 4 to conserve his energy as well as his minutes, and Anthony Davis is going to play a little bit more 5. Now, I personally like that because I think you can exploit some mismatches with AD playing the 5. Late in games, I still think LeBron is going to be controlling the basketball a lot. But But throughout the regular season, you're going to be seeing a different roster construction with LeBron and AD than you've seen the previous 2 years when these guys have been, when healthy, on the floor together, one of the most elite tandems that we've ever seen in the history of the league. So I think that conserving LeBron and saving his body just a bit, as well as his energy level, is going to bode well for late in the season during a playoff push, as well as in the playoffs. Because last year, I just don't think the Lakers were all that fresh, as evidenced by LeBron being banged up and AD going down with those lingering issues in that first round series against the Phoenix Suns. And if they don't break down, I think the Lakers beat the Suns in that first round series, and who knows what happens. Do they end up winning back-to-back championships? Laker Nation, subscribe to the channel. Nobody's doing what we're doing here at Chat Sports. If you want informative, entertaining Lakers coverage, this is your go-to spot. Smash that subscribe button down below or go to youtube.com/LakersTV. Myself, Harrison Graham, everybody else here at Chat Sports, we cover this team year long, and we take great pride in doing so.
NBA training camps are almost here as we roll along on today's show. Chase, basketball is almost back as training camps start next week.
So much of the focus right now across America, really across the world, is on the National Football League as we go into week 3. But NBA training camp tips off next week. NBA preseason is only a couple weeks away, and then the NBA regular season starts in mid-October. We're going back to the normal NBA schedule following this COVID-shortened season and how the coronavirus kind of threw everything out of whack as far as the schedule. But here's some key dates for you that are coming up. Next week on the 27th, that's NBA Media Day for all teams across the association. On the 28th, that's when NBA training camps begin, so practices do begin to be in session. On the 3rd, the NBA preseason is starting, and then on the 19th, NBA regular season gets underway.
Yeah, and you look at that calendar, you're like, holy smokes, didn't the finals just end like a week ago?
It feels
That's
that
what
way.
It feels like, but we've had a draft, we've had a free agency period, and it's a lot of fun, man. I can't wait to get basketball back. Deep fall is the best time of year because you have the NFL, the NBA, playoff baseball, college football, and even hockey for you hockey fans. It's all happening at once. And that's coming up here in about 6 weeks when all those sports will overlap. It's nice to have the normal calendar back with the NBA. Second short offseason in a row that was shorter because of that. But moving forward, we should be back on the normal calendar, and these players should be able to adjust. And I cannot wait for opening night later in October. If you guys are as ready as we are here at Chat Sports, because hey, more NBA season means more videos for you guys, type me down in the comments. Chase, I'm fired up, man. It's going to be fun.
I'm fired up, and I think actually the ratings might improve for the NBA in the playoffs as well as in the NBA Finals once we get back to that normal schedule for the first time in 2 seasons, because 2 years ago we had the NBA bubble, and then it's kind of weird having the NBA Finals in the middle of the summer.
Yeah.
But when you have it earlier on, I think it's a less busy time on the sporting schedule.
Well, I think people are just so comfortable with what they're used to.
Yeah.
And 2 years ago, the finals are in mid-August. It's like, what?
It's very weird. When
people are ready
NFL
for
is
football.
ramping up.
Yeah,
exactly.
people are ready for football. So I think the NBA is poised for a big season. I think the playoffs were a ton of fun last year, brings momentum into this year. Should be an absolutely fantastic time. So if you're as fired up as we are, go ahead and type your me. We'll go ahead and talk about odds, MVP, playoff odds as well as we get closer and closer to the season. What do you make of Luka Doncic being the favorite to win MVP this year?
I think the odds makers see what you and I see and what a lot of other people see. I see Luka Doncic this year taking another step, and I honestly think that because of the roster construction in Dallas, he's going to have an opportunity to really carry the offensive load more so than in previous seasons, and he's already had a massive usage rate, but I do see his points per game increasing up to maybe 33 points per game, so I think that's realistic that Luke is going to be able to win his first MVP award, which will really add to his legacy throughout his career. I mean, you compare his first 3 seasons with the first 3 seasons of LeBron James, they have been nearly identical all across the board. And I think Steph Curry, coming off that historic second half of the season last year in which he was just straight up on fire, dropping 30, 40-point games any given night. That's why you see him at 5-to-1 odds. Giannis, he really solidified himself as one of the greatest players in the history of the NBA with how he played in the NBA Finals.
His resume of 2 MVPs and a Finals MVP, he could retire tomorrow and go into the Hall.
So him and Michael Jordan, the only players at this point of their respective careers to win an NBA championship, an NBA MVP, a Finals MVP, and Defensive Player.
Wow.
So that goes to show you the historic proportions in which Giannis is off to in his career. And then if Embiid doesn't get hurt last year
he might
with
have
that
won
knee
it.
injury at 7-1 odds, I kind of like the value there because I thought he would have been the MVP if he didn't get hurt.
Then, of course, LeBron's always in the mix. Kevin Durant's
at
in the mix
12-1 as well.
A lot of guys at plus 1,200. We just gave the King some props there because he's been doing it for a long time. But then you look at NBA title odds. No surprise at the top 3, Chase. Brooklyn, L.A., Milwaukee. Then Golden State at plus 1,100. The Jazz at plus 1,400. I think people forget the Jazz were the best regular season team last year.
Yeah.
And if Mike Conley doesn't get banged up in the playoffs, same with Donovan Mitchell, who's dealing with an ankle issue, maybe that team wins it all last year.
I thought you made a good point earlier when you said the NBA playoffs last year were really entertaining. They were jam-packed with action. They really were. And I think what's great going into this year, both the Eastern Conference and the Western Conference are so deep, and I think there's going to be so much parity across the league. Yeah. I know that the Nets and Lakers are obvious title favorites, but if they don't win the title next year, I'm not going to be surprised at all. And what you also saw in the playoffs last year is the emergence of some young superstars who were next up behind the LeBrons as well as the Stephs across the league.
Booker.
So going into this year, there is so much momentum, and I love it.
I absolutely cannot wait for the season. It's going to be a lot of fun. Who do you guys think will win it all this upcoming year in the 2021-2022 NBA season? Who's going to be the champs? Get your votes in right now down in the comments section. And while you're at it, subscribe to us here at Chat Sports. You're watching any given Thursday. We go live every single Thursday, 5 o'clock Eastern, 5 o'clock Eastern, 4 o'clock Central Time, 2 o'clock Pacific. So subscribe and join us, youtube.com/chatsportstv. We'll continue to have you guys covered on the NFL, NBA, college football, and everything else in between as well. So go ahead and subscribe.